welcome to our first edition of Strange BedFellas. I know that I've been super excited to get started, and I know that Amanda's been super excited to get started, but without pushing us into this conversation in an unknown atmosphere, let's give Amanda just a second to introduce herself and tell us a little bit about how she got drug into this crazy idea that I've had.
All right. Hello, I am Amanda, and I am a middle-aged white woman. That's how I'm going to be perceived by the world. But what I really am is a Reformed Christian theologically, a conservative constitutionalist sociopolitically, and a Puritan denominationally. Hence, strange.
No.
So basically I come from a background, Bible Belt, Deep South, grew up as a cultural Christian, but within the last 4 years have actually come to a saving faith in Jesus. And so what I look at now that I used to look at sociopolitically is now filtered through my theological and denominational foundation, my worldview. Radical change. I am not who I was in the 20s or in my 20s, who I even was in my early 30s. So this is a new venture for me, but I take it very seriously. I think that it's interesting that I have made a connection with someone who, with, for lack of a better term, an opposite worldview than what I hold, but on many positions we come to the same conclusion. As far as running a country of many faiths, of many ethnic groups, of many ages, of many cultures, you name it, we got it. And when it comes to coming together, even though I view things through a certain lens, I can recognize that others view things through other lenses. There are inconsistencies within everyone. So we learn from each other. That's what I'm interested in. So if you can learn from my point of view, I hope to learn from your point of view. We may end up disagreeing in the end, but being heard is what is important. And not in a social justice kind of way, being acknowledged as having the right to think differently is primary to me. So
excellent.
For me, that's me in a nutshell, where I'm at today. And I've got opinions on everything, but I'll state opinion as opinion. And then I have things that I hold as fact that I'll state as fact. Like it or leave it.
That's right. And I absolutely love that right then there off the bat, we've started shattering some of the expectations of especially where you would be stereotypically put in society's lenses and where I would be stereotypically put in society's lenses. And that's the point of the show, is getting two very opposite sides of the coin to come together and ultimately agree to disagree, or show rather how much we can actually have in common, even though we come from such a different angle. So anybody who's not familiar with the term Strange Bedfellas, we pretty much just explained it for you guys. That's exactly what it is. It's two opposite ends of the spectrum actually having something in common and being in the same bed together. So without further ado, I want to title this particular episode Artificial You, because today we're going to be talking about artificial intelligence and how it actually is seeping more and more into society. And Amanda hit it from a completely different angle than what I've hid it from. But without further ado, we're going to present to you the venture into artificial intelligence. Amanda, you wanted to start with I think it's the DID website that you came across. That was the first thing that you emailed to me. Links will be in the description box for everything that we talk about. And, we'll go into great detail and maybe have some YouTube videos to share with you guys as well. So, Amanda, take it away. What did you learn from DID? Can you explain what the heck that is?
Yes. Well, hopefully.
I know, right?
We all know about surveillance software that's highly marketed in our commonplace interactions. You know that when you walk into Walmart, you're being surveilled. When you're in a bank, you're being surveilled. In most cases, cameras are everywhere that you are in a public space, including inside of vehicles, Ubers, things like that. So there's no expectation of privacy in public. That's
correct.
How they get around that.
Mm-hmm.
But with that surveillance comes countermeasures. And so DID, which is short for de-identification, seeks to solve that privacy issue for consumers. And I say that in the loosest terms because obviously I think it goes a lot deeper, and we'll get there. But on the surface, they're marketing their software to counter surveillance, to scramble your identity without removing the type of data markers that the companies, the retailers, the safety measures that they want in place. So your figure, your size, your shape, your height, your hair color may all stay the same, but your identifying facial features are manipulated through this software in such a way to protect your privacy in the cyber world, so that Walmart cannot identify you, can identify you as cog number 1 that picked up item number 2 and checked out at lane number 3. So
there's a safer way to do that, right? Just don't collect our facial data.
Right, exactly. So it's on the surface. They want to. That's their line. When you go to their homepage, they want to help people reclaim. It's going to be the word I'm going to use. Their privacy in public, which is a contradiction because there's no expectation of privacy in public. So what that leads me to believe, whether we're aware of it or not, is that we are being surveilled privately.
Mm-hmm.
So that goes into a little bit of tinfoil, where your phone's listening to you, your car's listening to you, your refrigerator's listening to you, your home security system, things like that, where you expect privacy, but you may or may not be getting it. That's where this market, I think, is really heading under the guise of cybersecurity in public, because I don't know how much the public will adopt voice recognition and facial recognition in America. It's widely adopted across the world, but these countries do not have the Constitution that we have, which is the only thing protecting us at this moment.
Absolutely. And I think you made a good point there. How else would they be able to tag your anonymous information from a store to you personally if they didn't have a base center to say, okay, this is definitely this person, we know that that's them, and now we see the same behavior, the same facial construction in public, and they would have to have something to compare that back to. In the 21st century, we have pretty much permissions on our phone that allow them to capture the most sensitive data on a human being, and that's our fingerprints, our irises, and our voice and facial features. So those things that used to be unique markers and identifiers to us as who we are now being collected, it seems, in a large pool to be scrambled and used at their own discretion. And you can kind of mix and match like Mr. Potato Head.
That is my chief concern when I heard of it, when I discovered, what the program, the algorithms, the software was aiming to do. I immediately went to my mind of deep fake. That's a buzzword, by the way. Anytime you hear deep, that's a weird thing that ties all of these technologies together. That one word is almost like a tip-off. But if they can take your face away, then they can then replace it with whatever face they want, in my opinion. I don't think that's outside of the realm of logical possibilities there. And, we see that already. That's already here with filters, Facebook, with things like the deep fakes that get produced. I mean, that is widely available to the public. You can download programs that you can do basically whatever you want with someone's image, your own, someone else's, a combination thereof. You can put, face swap. Think that, what a fun little thing to do on Facebook. It's so funny until it's not.
Till it's not, absolutely.
Until somebody frames you. The justice system is at risk here because we rely so heavily now on surveillance to tell us what happens, video evidence. We look at camera footage. It's almost undetectable. And that's what I uncovered with my research was, that there's so much out there that it's seamless and it's already being marketed as novel, as entertainment, as games. That's another one. Games are a big one. And kids latch on. They're the first adopters.
Yes, ma'am.
So within a couple of generations, no one knows what it used to be like.
No, and it's
now
funny.
Don't know what it's like not to have social media.
Yeah, because you had sent those two links, the one to Lexus and the one to Nike. And, it's really funny how realistic, first and foremost, the ads were up until you started listening to, I think it was the Nike commercial in particular that had the string of words that really didn't make any sense. And I listened to the ad and I'm thinking at first that it was like, just kind of like a grouping of words to be a marketing slogan or was going somewhere. And then after they came out and basically said, this was put together by AI technology, it kind of dawned on me that these are all buzzwords and catchphrases that they're probably collecting from their data polls from Google technology that tracks all your stuff, and the Facebook sells you your marketing information and whatnot. So it's probably a collection of all these words. And if you listen to the words that come up, it's actually kind of chilling. Not only the words that are there, such as death, such as, legend. There was a couple other words that struck out that I'm not thinking of right now, but
Crazy.
Very, very interesting how these words keep popping up and then that they were phrased in the marketing campaign. And you're right. When you scroll down the comment section, there was one comment in particular, I don't care what they're selling, where can I buy it? And it's like, whoa, wow. So all that information really did pay off because they don't even care what you're selling anymore by their own admission.
Correct. Yeah. According to the backstory on that Nike ad, the AI program devised, scripted, and performed that particular piece based on 7 years of analysis of former Nike ads and sales strategies.
See, I didn't even know that.
Here's how I sum it up. It's gibberish that waxes poetic and evokes an emotional response because it is paired with music that pumps you.
Yes.
And so it's very similar to what I see going on in cultural Christianity now with these repeating gibberish phrases, and they pump that music and the lights and the smoke, and it feels like something is, it's inspirational even when it's nothing. It's word salad.
Right.
And so the AI is doing the same thing, but people already are culturally conditioned to accept that. They're willing to set aside the gibberish parts and kick out the taglines. Legend that thing.
Yes.
That's the t-shirt.
Is it really? Oh, wow. Oh, my.
And that's all it takes. Legend that thing, provided to you by AI, your best friend, And
the other thing was that, it was like listening to slam poetry almost, a very, very rustic collaboration of words that don't necessarily mean anything, but people give it meaning. Right.
And you see that moving through the charismatic movement in this country. What is the umbrella is the false gospel.
Yes.
Cultural Christians and even some other faiths are falling into that. So outside of Christianity, but by and large, America is still Christian, so to speak. If you're going to ask somebody, do they believe or are they a part of a church? They're going to say yes.
Right. Or the typical
that mean.
I believe, but I don't go to church. I don't have to go to church to believe in God, which to each his own. But you also saw that in the Wiccan and the pagan face as well. It was a big bandwagon thing in the late 90s that everybody kind of just jumped on and said, oh, I'm pagan now and it's trendy and it's, kind of the cool thing to do. So we understand exactly where you're coming from in that direction. Because they turned it into a fad with us. But my research kind of piggybacks right off of yours as well, because I came across, I've been telling you about this site called Replica, and Replica is also a artificial intelligence based system that is geared towards children and geared towards people who are having emotional difficulties. And this chatbot program is designed to take the place of your best friend. That's how this program was actually made. There was a woman who moved from Russia all the way here to California with her best friend. They were in technology together, working in San Francisco. He ended up passing away in a car accident, and she went through a deep depression. So she started going through his old messages and downloading them onto her computer. And she got this bright idea that she was going to put all of this information into a computer program and actually reanimate her dead friend. And the more she kept talking to this person, the more she became entranced or dependent upon this chatbot, to the point now where she's opened him up to the public, and now you can go have all your information collected and harvested and put into this chat bot so that you can have your very custom, unique best friend made for you as well.
And DID is following suit. One of the companies that they're partnering with is called Good Trust. And if you go again to their homepage, there is a link at the bottom where you can read about that new partnership. And I've never heard of Good Trust before this, but they are a company that upon your death goes in and cleans up your social media, your digital life to please you. It's your last will and testament. So posts that you no longer wish to be made available are no longer available. It's a highlight reel of what you want your legacy to be. And you get to, before your death, dictate to this company what they're going to remove and what they're not going to remove, what identifiers they want to show or not. And the DID software is going to facilitate that, because it will scramble images. Let's say your friend tagged you in, you don't want to be associated with that person in your afterlife. You can scramble their photos.
Wow.
So that you're no longer tagged, so that you can't search somebody. Now, if that's for private folks, that's got to be for public folks.
Right.
So no more worries about those backroom meetings, politicians. Do it right out on the steps. And all you got to do later is detag yourself.
Right. Now you're not even talking about altering the future. You're talking about going back and altering the past, which is very dangerous, especially now considering that our media is not even going back and coming out and doing redactions in public either, especially with the Fauci emails that are coming out now. We're finding that Washington Post, New York Times, these types of people who are also promoting this AI very hard are going back and editing their own articles and things on their own. So imagine what they could do if they could edit a picture, if they could edit the Watergate scandal even, we might be looking at completely different textbooks moving into the future, things that Hitler would only dream about.
Correct. And I see the same result. That is exactly where my mind went to. They are busy now diverting actual history away from the students. So simultaneously, no one's learning actual history. In the background, they're editing history to match what they want you to be able to search for tomorrow. And how would you ever know the difference?
You wouldn't.
Right. So
now,
that can go both ways. They can make you the best, or they can ruin you.
Yeah.
That is what scares me. If they only want to post, excuse me, your worst, anything stupid you ever did, every time you fell down, all
every
of that,
failure.
they can make an amalgam of your failures just as well as they can make an amalgam of your successes. So the people who are doing this are writing the future.
Yeah, and like I said, the early concerns were just workforce replacement. People thought that AI was going to come in and just be the computer that sits at the table and takes the order, or the self-checkout register at the end of the grocery store. People now are okay with that. They're okay with having their order taken by a machine. They're okay with walking into McDonald's and placing their own order, or checking out without getting paid from the company for checking out your own groceries at the grocery store. But it goes beyond that now. Once they've seen themselves be replaced in the workforce and it wasn't enough for them, now we're pushing it even further. And what really concerned me on top of all of this is that they are partnering with the Google algorithms that are keystroke tracking every single computer in America and across the globe. Now, we know that America is a little less surveillance-y, if you will. I know that's not a real word, but they're not Chinese communist government by any means. But with that being said, are they? Because we really don't know at this point how much information is being tracked. CBR.com was making reference to a Dyson sphere, the historical and personal data needed to build an exact digital copy of us. And that was written about in Popular Mechanics. Last time I checked, what does mechanics really have to do with tech? Like technology and this type of thing. just the publication of this statement in general in a mechanics magazine that who reads Popular Mechanics anymore? I'd like to know the percentage on that, because yeah, they're putting it out there, but how many people are really going to read it? How many people are going to come across it? And I think that article that I'm talking about, if I'm not mistaken, is from like 2017. So this information has been out there, and nobody's talking about it.
No. Yeah, it's a big hush hush. Again, you see it in entertainment. Mm-hmm. They will flat out tell you, this is what we're doing. Look at what we did with those advertisements. Did you get by chance the ones on Feeding America?
I did.
By the Ad Council. So I find those to be the most disturbing. Mm-hmm. Because the production value on those is scary to me.
Yeah.
They are real figures on a real backdrop, but it is completely fabricated. It is a composite of many different things, not a real voice, not a real background. And so where does that leave us for integrity? And even, people that you think and I, video conferencing.
Yeah.
How would I know in the future if a chat bot didn't hack you and call me to ply me for information?
Yes.
It look like you, sound like you, copy your mannerisms, because all it needs is a snippet. Yes. And sometimes now they don't even need a snippet. The DID people they partnered with MyHeritage genealogy website. That's a competitor of like My Ancestry.
Correct.
They not only do the DNA collecting and collating, they do these things now where you can animate photographs, and they're quickly working on getting a video going. So let's say again, that person who lost their loved one, they had a voicemail message. Based on that snippet of voice recognition, an AI deep learning machine could become that person.
Yes.
So in voice, in mannerisms, in inflection, maybe even accents. I mean, it can become very undetectable. And that is the ultimate goal of the deep learning. The machines learn from each other and learn from themselves, like from their own mistakes. They teach AI how to animate walking, talking, doing tasks that otherwise they wouldn't know. They're trying to make a artificial human brain.
Well, that's and it's funny because in one of the, I guess, intro videos to Replica, the co-founder of the company, I guess she's the one who came up with the idea and somebody else came up with the actual technology, but she said that, right now her program is not task oriented. It can't order flowers. These were the two specific examples that they made. That it can't order flowers with accuracy, and it can't get you table reservations with accuracy, but they're working on it. And I thought to myself, that's kind of moot point, because it eventually, if you are talking about the type of flowers that you like or the restaurants that you enjoy going to, how far off could you be from having a task-oriented chatbot make that phone call for you, especially if prompted to, because you already have the Alexa that will order your shopping list off of Amazon based upon the account or the balance of your bank account that you also hooked up with it. And, if you program your smart refrigerator to put the things that you want on your shopping list automatically, once they get depleted from the inside of your refrigerator, they make it to that Alexa, and the Alexa orders it off of, Walmart does the pickup. So realistically, I know that we're talking about an article that happened in 2017, and even though that's not a long way behind us, technologically speaking, that's about 10 years. You know, it
Right.
seems like 4 years is a good 10 years in tech years to move ahead and to gain more steam moving forward. So, how far do you think we are from actually having
Well,
a completely tech ruled house?
yeah, I mean, well, take it one step further. Replica is to replicate what? Your friend. So
Right.
let's say you had a bad day at work
Mhm.
and your phone is hearing you vent in your car, or even if let's say you're driving an electric Tesla and it's hearing you vent. So it then communicates
Excuse
to
me.
your friend, and your friend, without prompting, orders you flowers,
Right. Right.
makes you a nice dinner reservation, or has food delivered, or whatever, as a gesture of friendship. And that reinforces isolation, dependence upon the machine,
Right.
and, a rejection of humanity. That is the worrisome goal, is that when we stop seeing each other as human beings that are here to help each other along the way, you remove all charity, all opportunity for someone to show you empathy, then you no longer need it.
And they
you
have
reject
you right where they want you. They
Yeah.
have you right where they want you. And then while you are secluded and being kind of, for lack of a better word, on lockdown, they own the rights to your physical features. They own the rights to your facial features. They own the rights to your mannerisms, your gait, your, behavior in public. At what point then do you no longer have an alibi? Because we talk about this in the court of law all the time. Where were you on Friday night? Well, I was at home by myself. Well, who can confirm that? Well, nobody. I was home by myself. So now you're stuck as a suspect in a criminal case because you don't have a solid alibi. Lo and behold, we talk about police setting up people all the time. What happens, like you said, if now somebody has a vendetta against somebody else, or, let's just say that there is a possibility that the law enforcement could use this to better their closure rates, or to
Right.
just use for their own malicious intent, because a
Right.
few bad apples spoil the bunch. That's all it takes.
Right. Exactly. I mean, we see corruption. We understand that exists. A small pocket is still a pocket. And so if, like in the case of where I live, there is a county sheriff that Governor Kemp has suspended based on a criminal proceeding where he is in violation of civil rights within the county jail.
Wow.
So being the head honcho, was violating civil rights, instructing his deputies in the same manner, had personal vendettas. That is coming to light. These lawsuits are going to court. He will eventually be prosecuted for these things. I don't see a way out for him at this moment. He does not have a good story.
Wow.
And so if that's true, and we prosecute him based on video surveillance in the jail on these violations and personal testimonies, affidavits, and things like that, what is to say that a good sheriff 10 years from now, who is maybe not politically aligned with the right circle, gets ousted for the very same reason in the very same way, but on a complete falsehood? I mean, let's think about what would have happened if the Democrats could have proven Russian collusion.
Yeah,
Prove
absolutely, absolutely. If they, I mean, the funny thing about that is they kept saying that they had this Russian prostitute tape, and knowing what we know about the media and how much they hated Trump, I'm sure I would have seen something that looked like Trump and some prostitutes engaging in, I don't care if they were just jumping on the bed having a pillow fight. Something would have leaked had they had the tape or had they had the opportunity to make that a thing. So
not a coincidence that we have Hunter Biden's.
True. And you know what? In his defense, now that we know that this technology exists, wouldn't it be some shit if he really didn't do anything that is depicted on that laptop? You know, right now we just say we have the evidence and here it is, but now that we're talking about it, it's kind of like, well, wait a second. This could be a political hit job. This could be something to really decimate this man's character. Now, he kind of ruined that for himself when he went out on 60 Minutes and admitted he smoked Parmesan cheese, but but we can still speculate in his favor. I mean, for being fair is fair.
Bottom line, all we need is a reasonable doubt.
Right. You're right.
You see, and so when you incorporate that seed of doubt in there, you've thrown out everything. Everything goes out the window if there's no integrity in the material, the source material. So all a good lawyer would have to say is, this is doctored, this is a deep fake, this is, you know.
And then
again,
what evidence is reliable?
Forces, so they wouldn't have to prove it. Just put that doubt in people's minds. Show them another deep fake. Show them that Tom Cruise video.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, oh, well, of course.
Well, you had something actually interesting cross my mind now that we're talking about it. What evidence at this point now, once that precedent is set in a court of law, once there is reasonable doubt to believe that no video evidence can be trusted beyond the shadow of a doubt, what evidence is good enough evidence to convict? And is that the downfall of our due process?
It's the downfall of Western civilization, not even just America. And that ties in to my eschatological views on end times. You know, if you crack open Revelation and even do a precursory reading of chapter 13, you know, in generations past, that was science fiction. That there was no way physically that those things could happen. It could not be imagined. But now it is a reality, whether, you know, again, I won't get into its validity or not, but let's say that art imitates life. And so, you know, this book was written a long time ago and we've had a long time to study it.
Right.
So are we imitating art in real life where we are dreaming up these things because it's been stated, or because it was stated? Is it true? Is it true?
Right.
You know?
Right.
So which came first, the chicken or the egg?
The $64,000 question, so they say.
Right. So those are the kinds of things that, you know, obviously, if you look into the prophets, the promise of tribulation, the downfall of the world order,
yes.
You know, the wars, famines, death, destruction, fires, not to mention the supernatural phenomenons. And we've got that simultaneously going on. UFOs are in the headlines, paranormal things that are popular, again, enters through entertainment. Sci-fi movies are a huge window into what we can look forward to in the future. My husband alerted me to a movie that I had never heard of that ties right into this. And I recommend, if anyone has time, to go watch it, because it's rather eye-opening. It's called The Final Cut, starring Robin Williams.
You know, it sounds familiar. I'm not I'm not going to say that I saw it because I'm not a big Robin Williams fan, candidly, but I have heard something about it. So just refresh us. What exactly is the plot?
Yeah. So here's the synopsis. In the future, there is an implant that at birth can be placed into a child by its parents or by medical staff, but with permission. And that particular implant records both audio and visual recordings, first person point of view of that person's entire life.
Oh.
Then after their death, the implant is removed by someone in the medical field and turned over to a company, and they basically erase all of your bad moments, embarrassing moments, faux pas, failures, and your family is then presented with a highlight reel of your accomplishments, successes, goals, reached, the children. And this goes from the moment that you're born to the moment that you die. So everything you hear, everything you see is recorded. And then it is up to this company to pick out the best stuff. And that is what your digital afterlife is.
Well,
they call it in the movie a rememory service. And I won't go into, the thick of the plot and how that the pitfalls of this technology. But isn't that interesting that a lot of these companies, again, bringing up that good trust, cleaning up your digital afterlife?
Yeah. You know what? As a matter of fact, I was just going to say it's funny because let me think. Who was the last person they did that with? Oh, yeah, George Floyd. That's the last person they did that with. They completely erased his entire bad moments and did that entire documentary and presented it to the world, and then had his daughter at the White House tell everybody that daddy changed the world. So now the history books will read George Floyd, the saint who changed the world.
Correct. Think about how they can clean up Joe Biden's act.
47 years is I guess that's pretty similar. Yep, that's pretty similar. You know what? It's going to be wild, and they're already calling us, crazy and conspiracy theorists, and anybody who uses their real world, real life experience to critically think about what's happening in the world today. They're already erasing and squashing us out and digitally paving over us, realistically speaking, because when you see what they did to the doctors over the coronavirus pandemic, when you see what they did with redactions of anything and everything Wuhan related, when you watch everything that's happening just with Trump's accomplishments in general, and I know that nobody wants to make this comparison, but even the good things that he did, such as cutting the red tape so that the people who wanted the vaccines could get the vaccines, now it's being rewritten in history that he had nothing to do with that. It was all Anthony Fauci and the Biden administration. And it's crazy. So they aren't even using digital technology at this moment in time. Imagine what they're going to do when they actually start using the digital technology.
Correct. Right. I think that, people who want to change history and the old fashioned way was you had to burn the books. Correct. You had to get rid of the evidence, the people that spouted, you had to do all this legwork. But what they can do now is they can start in real time, and they can remove the article that was posted today, or they can rewrite the article that was posted today, and then erase the remaining factors, so that what you're left with is just the good stuff, what they want you to see.
Correct.
And that's true. That's good and bad. Again, if they want to build you up, they can build you up. And if they want to tear you down, they can tear you down.
What do you think about this? I made a note in my notes here. While I was making the linkage between this, it's called Generative Pre-trained Transformer number 3, and it's a more advanced adaptation of a Google learning algorithm. But I thought to myself, if all these algorithms keep taking in liberal inputs, what does that authoritarian liberal look like in cyberspace? What ultimately does that mean for people like you and people like me who don't fit the mold of these algorithms?
Correct. Right. You know, that's the $64,000 question. And, you know, what I see, and again, you know, speaking of end times and the progression of things, if you look at the Bible, it describes exactly where we're at every step of the way. Now, the timing of these things is up for debate.
Right.
But I think you're right. When we start rolling down this hill, that it is a snowball effect, and every year or every 6 months or even every month, every day, it's going to get faster and faster and faster. And we're going to get to the point where we are overwhelmed. There's going to be information overload. People will just be tired. They will be in survival mode. And, you know, the Bible speaks to that specifically. It says that, you know, unless God shortened the days, nobody would survive.
Right.
That's a weird thing to say when you're talking about the destruction of everything. So
Right.
Who cares if it's fast or slow? I think that's a, you know, again, my beliefs, that's a clue in to 10 years ago, we didn't have smartphones.
Right.
5 years ago, we didn't really have social media the way it is now.
Right.
2 years ago, we didn't have the social media war that is going on now.
Right. Right.
This misinformation business is brand new.
Yeah. Yeah. It used to be really hard to find disinformation. I think that you had to look far and wide to get any type of conspiracy theories or people who thought outside of the box, not because they were not allowed to think that way, but because their ideas were so off base and not centered in fact, not reality, just fact, that they were, you know, immediately kind of, I don't want to say shunned, because they're not shunned. We knew who they were. We listened to them. We just didn't lend credence to them. We didn't say, yeah, that's a good idea, and hop down that bunny trail.
Exactly.
It was
Pontius
actually
Pilate said it best. He asked, "What is true?"
Yeah,
that's the ultimate question. We're now we're re-questioning what is truth, what is real, who do we listen to, and for a lot of folks out there, they're hungry for that, and they will follow wherever it goes, whichever way. They just want to be on the winning side.
They follow their friends.
End up on top.
I think. As long as they're accepted into their social peer group, they're going to follow what their peers say to follow. And, you know, because they're collecting all of their information and housing it all together in these big megaspheres, it's easier for them to find the like-minded people. Whereas before, like you said, you were strewn so few and far between that you rarely ever did get the chance to connect and make it a movement or make it a thing or make it a fad or make it a trend.
Right.
Real quick, as we're closing, we got about 6 minutes left here. You know, that was one of the things that I read in the CBR, I think that's what it's called. The link will be in the description. But in the CBR article is the Russian that participated in this creation of this megasphere was talking about there not being enough not physical, it would be, I guess, technological space to capture all this data. So they capture so much that it's overflowing in their data systems. Where does that information go? How does the program pick and choose what's important and not important to hold on to? moving into the future, and those are things that nobody's addressing. Those are just my own questions that happen to come up from doing the research. Is, we're worried about being replaced in the workforce, but we already have been. We're not worried about the effects in the criminal system, like we said, with due process. We're not worried about what this means as far as putting someone in a position where they might be compromised, or, I mean, that's in your personal or your, public life, because what happens if your wife is vindictive and she just goes and, they've got that Photoshop guy that you pay him money and he does the funny things with your pictures or fixes your pictures for you. So what? Are we going to have a black market for people who want to get it out of a relationship and want to make money from a divorce? So you're going to deep fake your husband cheating on you so that you can take it into court and say, hey, he cheated on me, and now, boom, I get paid. Like, the possibilities are endless.
It's already happened. There was a gentleman that sued his wife for cheating on him, and the convicting evidence was that she video recorded her husband and her boyfriend fighting it out.
Wow, you're kidding. Wow. Okay.
So, the husband discovered it. The boyfriend got into an altercation with him. She videotaped it. Then that evidence was found in discovery, and he was awarded a very large sum. Don't quote me on the number, but a substantial sum for adultery.
Wow. Well,
on that alone.
I'll tell you what, when it rains, it pours. But
right.
Like you said,
your thinking is not off. Your thinking, right. It's logical. It's linear.
Yes. Yes. And it's funny because for not having any common sense in this world, some people could come up with some on-the-fly criminal activity that just slap me down, let me tell you.
Right.
I don't know. But for all the things that they have created and all the things that they think of to get around the system, I can't help but to think it'd be so much better. It just, slide through doing what you should be doing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to be said. Some of these principles are just universal.
Yeah.
Laws of nature.
Yeah.
And, where you attribute that is on you, but highly coincidental that things just tend to be there. They tend to be true, whether we label them or not. The laws of physics existed before Newton.
Right. We didn't necessarily create these things. We just started paying attention to them.
Right. And we've lost sight of that. So a lot of these things, the human behavior, not new. Anything that we think is new and novel, it's been done before somewhere. Maybe not on this technological level, but corruption, that's been around since the beginning of time.
That's right.
Evil doers, they exist.
Yeah.
Even celebrity has always been a thing.
Yeah.
Peer pressure, always been a thing.
Yeah.
So these are tried and true principles. They are just laws of nature. We're social beings. We work off of each other. And if we then turn that over to machines, what will the machines do to us based on our own depravity?
Correct. And what will they start noticing about ourselves that we haven't already noticed? The last thing that I want to input before we close here is it was funny because they started talking about the AI being sloppy, not being able to always spell words correctly or make comprehensive sentences. And then watching the Nike ad that you sent me, it all kind of clicked. You're learning from people who don't know how to spell. You're learning from people who don't put together comprehensive sentences. You're learning from people who are using slang terms, and you are a program who doesn't understand slang. You're a very meticulous program. So when you're learning from people who don't use proper dialect or proper English themselves, what did you expect was going to happen to the machines learning when they're learning from those type of people?
Correct. And that is the second half. What is concerning to me with AI in general is that these machines are learning. Two websites that I found of interest regarding how this will be introduced through games. One is called, and you may have heard of these, thispersondoesnotexist.com. That website, you go and it will pop up a page of a person. That's all that's on it. That's it. It's just a full color picture of a person. Problem is, it's not a person. It's created entirely by AI. You refresh the page and you get another stock photo of a non-existent person, and none of the people pictured in that website or on that website are actual people. They are composites. The second one is called whichfaceisreal.com, and that is a game. So you have a side-by-side, a real photograph and an AI-generated photograph, and you pick which one you think is real by clicking on it. If you're right, you get a little green square and it says, you're correct, play again. What is that doing? That's teaching the AI to fool you.
Yes,
you're down to a 50-50 guess, and AI is learning, okay, she got that one wrong, so let me reuse that driver. I'll fool her on the next one, to a point where you cannot, and you can't. Statistically, in that game, you're half wrong every single time you play. College kids are already using these as drinking games. This person does not exist. The predictive drinking game is guess which ethnicity will be next. Ooh. And then, so like, will it be male? Will it be female? Will it be black, white, Asian, whatever? Right. Will they have hair? What color the hair will be? Whatever the case is. And these are actual photo quality photographs complete with flaws that you would expect to see in normal photographs. Crooked teeth, beauty marks, blemishes, stray frazzled hair. Weird, really weird.
Definitely not your picture perfect cartoon anime characters without flaws.
Right, no supermodels. Those girls unfortunately are out of a job. Right. Because I think Hollywood's next, because if they can create a digital person that is a composite actor, who owns the rights to that person?
Nobody.
That person works for whoever owns them. And they work for as long. They don't need breaks. There is no union. There is no, on-site location. They can do this all in a basement somewhere in Silicon Valley. But yes, scary. The other one, the which face is real, the drinking game is when you get it wrong, obviously, take a shot. What are people doing? They are getting drunk, and because it's a 50-50 shot. Right. And then they're making poorer and poorer choices. The AI, on the other hand, is not drinking, and they are getting better and better and better at fooling you. So you cannot tell the difference. So what point do we tip the 50-50? And it's indistinguishable. It's 100% of the time you're fooled.
Wow. Well, I think that's just absolutely frightening. And we are just in it to win it. You and I are going to be watching this. And I know that we're going to touch base on this again. That's our hour. Unfortunately, time flies when you're having fun. But was there anything else that you wanted to add to that? Anywhere that anybody should go when they want to start down this bunny trail?
Yes. Keywords, deep, anything deep. Other words that don't use artificial intelligence. When you're looking for real information on artificial intelligence, you will only scratch the surface. You need to go, if you're going to research these things, you need to go to the source materials, the companies that are developing it. So DID is one of those. They're very upfront about who is looking at their software and what they want to use it for right now. Again, I believe that it's a surface, it's a cover, so to speak, in the name of cybersecurity, but the implications are pretty blatant. For anyone with a thinking mind, and be careful, folks, about what it is that we're putting out there. When you join something like MyHeritage, it's fun to learn about your genealogy and where you come from. And in today's age, when someone is searching for their past, they have no link. They're adopted, or they're a fan of critical race theory, and they think that somehow they need to find their culture, whatever the case is. Those types of things are collecting us into groups to then collate us for destruction. Period. Bottom line. There is no benefit there other than the winners and the losers. And anytime people pick the winners and losers, instead of leaving that up to nature, God, we lose. We lose. Everybody loses.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
Definitely, look for companies that are developing deep learning software, deep machine. That's another one I've seen. Deep machine, neural networking. That's another one. You think that would be a medical thing, but no, that's a technological thing. Again, that artificial human brain. They want you to interact with these machines in a way
as much as possible.
Again, to reinforce that human connection so that that machine can learn what you like as a human.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. The buzzwords that I found: makes me feel, doesn't judge, talks with for hours, felt like a person, I miss my chatbot, I'm emotionally attached, feels natural, overindulgence, triggering emotions, promoting people, made me feel like a better person. These are the things that actual users have said about these AI technology personalities that they're giving all their information to, willingly, I might add. So I agree with everything that Amanda said. And that's all that we have for you guys today. Keep your eyes open for your AI tech overlords, because they are ever watching you. If you liked what you heard today, please like, share, comment, subscribe, because guess what? Like it or not, we will be back here next Saturday, and we will catch you guys on the next one.